Yo, 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 yo! Oh my God, coming off of a holiday, yo! Still gonna sing Christmas music, still gonna do it. Not ready to release that just yet. We're going to Three Kings Day, aren't we, till January 6th? So yeah, yo, 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 yo. Oh my God, what a gift it is to be here. Hello, LOLeros. I hope you were in full receipt of plentiful gifts this holiday season. I just put something on my Instagram about like the useful gifts that I got this holiday season. Shout out to everybody who gave me something very useful. Cause like sometimes you get those things that are like, oh, it's just gonna like sit in my closet or whatever. But like the COVID care kit that I got, I thought that was a really thoughtful gift. Like a Ziploc bag full of COVID tests and eucalyptus, like Hall's eucalyptus. Anyway, I have a very minty fresh guest sitting right next to me, and I'm very excited because it's all about that podcast to podcast love, son. That amor, bro. AMOR love, LUV, however you spell it. I was on his show, Life as a Gringo, and so without further ado, just please put your hands together for DJ Dramos.
Hey,
Burr,
hey.
burr, burr, burr.
I appreciate the intro. Making me feel at home right now.
Well, you are a DJ.
I am.
You are many things.
That's true.
Podcast host. You're on the radio, like terrestrial radio.
Yeah, old school.
Old school.
Old school.
I mean, for us old schoolers, it's not so old school, but like
No.
for the younger generation, it's like, wait, it's not a podcast?
Right. They have no idea how to tune in.
You need like that box contraption with speakers and some sort of thing you pull out, antennae or something. Yeah, it's that thing.
Yeah, they have no idea.
Dramos, thank you for having me on your show, Life as a Gringo.
That was an amazing episode.
It was so fun. You're also a motivational speaker.
Yeah, I guess I've been tagged with that title, yeah.
Yeah, well, you do a lot.
I know.
Like,
Thank
it's hard
you.
to encapsulate. You're an entertainer.
Yeah, a creator, entertainer, I like that. I think it just encompasses everything, yeah.
Well, thank you for closing this circuit of pod to pod love,
Aw.
round one. I hope there's another round.
Absolutely.
But like, I love this like cross-pollination, not to sound all like biology, high school. The cross-pollination of the flowers is what yields the growth of the garden. And that's exactly how I feel. Like if we cross-pollinate,
Yeah.
we idea exchange.
Yep.
I love your show,
Thank
shows.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
then you have the other podcast.
Yeah, Street Stoic.
Street Stoic, which is motivational.
Yeah, that one is definitely like motivational speaker-esque, I think, yeah.
Give us some color. Can you like tell us about each podcast?
Yeah, so Life as a Gringo talks about my experience and like my otherness of sort of not being Latin enough for like my Latin family, but then being too something else for like my white friends, so kind of always existing this weird middle ground, and that's sort of what the podcast kind of tackles is those of us who maybe our Spanish isn't the best, you know what I'm saying? Maybe we struggle a little bit when it comes to that, and just kind of accepting and embracing who we are and understanding we still have a spot within our Latinness as well. And then the second podcast is a Street Stoic podcast, and that one is a daily podcast where I mix hip-hop lyrics and quotes with ancient Stoic philosophy to kind of bring you some like morning motivation as you start your day.
Yo, y'all heard that? That's like the best sancocho I've ever heard in my life. Like, I often quote hip-hop lyrics here, just as they come up. You know,
as
like,
you should.
We were just quoting like Wu-Tang for like 15 minutes. So to combine that
Yeah.
with motivation
Yeah.
and like aspirational statements and phrases, that is great. How long is each episode about, would you say?
The Street Stoic,
Uh-huh.
that was like 15 minutes, so it's just like a quick
Yeah.
like daily shot of inspiration to
That
start your day.
dose, that Dramos dose.
Yeah, try.
That's so dope. And
Thank
then
you.
you're on terrestrial radio. Do people call it that? Did I just like date myself? Is
I
that
think
an
that's it.
antiquated?
I don't think anybody in the street calls it terrestrial radio. But
Yo, shout out to everybody on terrestrial radio, bro. Yeah, son, that's my dogs right there, son.
Yeah.
Terrestrial or die, bro.
yeah, I think we call that, in the biz they call it that. But yeah, we might just call it radio in these streets. But yeah, I'm on the radio as well.
Okay, can you shout out the station?
Yeah, so I'm on Z100, and then before that, I also have worked with KTU.
KTU.
Yeah, that's where I got my start, and then after that was Power 105.1 with the Breakfast Club.
Yo, what a resume.
Yeah, I've been lucky.
You've been lucky, but the gifts and the talent yield the luck in my
I thank you. I appreciate that.
in my observation.
I'll let
your
you say it.
career.
I'm not going to say it, but I'll let you say it.
Okay, don't be humble and shit. You know, you're being humble and shit. It's okay, it's okay. We accept the humbleness.
Oh, thank you.
So here's a question I have for you
Yeah.
because you have this duality of being on the airwaves with the 2 podcasts.
Yeah.
And then I won't say terrestrial radio with the radio.
Yeah,
Can I say radio?
I feel like radio's probably we're just good with
Just radio?
Yeah, I think
Okay,
we're trying to do
fine.
too much right now. But
It's so Latino to be like, ya tú sabes, you know, like radio. It's for emphasis.
Yeah.
So like, how do you, no pun intended, but how do you tune in and out?
Ooh.
So what I did there? How do you tune in and out?
Yeah.
How do you go from job to job? Because one operates sort of by this clock and
Right.
like station identification,
Yeah.
advertisers,
Right.
30 seconds, 60 seconds, you know, and like only a limited amount, and you could probably speak way better to this than me, but a limited amount of content before the next commercial break.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side, what a long-winded question. We're getting to a question, trust me. I'm sorry. On the flip side with podcasting, it's like the wild, wild west. Pew, 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 pew. Pulling up to the bar, there ain't enough room in this town for the both of us. But there really is, actually. But it's the wild, wild west. Like, park your horse outside, let him drink water, come into this bar, and have some whiskey.
Yeah.
And take your time drinking that whiskey. There's no real 30, 60, 45.
No.
Like, so how do you, here's the question. I told you there was a question. How do you modulate?
Ooh, it's kind of like, you know, when you like have to put on your corporate voice, you know what I'm saying?
yes.
So it's kind of like that kind of almost code switching, I guess. But I mean, I think it's different talents, you know what I'm saying? I think I'm far more skilled in the podcasting long form. I could talk to a wall for an hour, you know what I'm saying? I'm better at that than the short form stuff like on the radio. Because on the radio, you're talking to songs, you might have 10 seconds to get an idea across. Yeah. And like you're watching as the seconds are clicking down before the song hits. So you don't want to talk over the vocals. So like, there's a lot of stress within that.
That would give me such agita.
Oh no, a little bit. It definitely gives you a bit of that anxiety. So like, it's definitely a different skill set. You have to be far more clever in a short period of time and get across your ideas. But I think it's good practice because it's live. It keeps you on your toes. And then I've noticed for like podcasting, a lot of my podcasts are pretty much like live to tape. I don't edit much just because I'm always in that mode of like it's live. So I'm always, you know, not trying to re-edit anything. I'm trying to like keep it natural. And I think they kind of balance each other out. I think radio taught me like a great foundation of like maybe storytelling a bit, of getting points across and things like that. And then podcasting is just like, okay, we took off the handcuffs basically, and now you're free to do whatever the hell you want.
Handcuffs are off.
Handcuffs are off.
The prisoners have been released.
Yes, exactly.
Let them off the bus. Oh my gosh, that is a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was sort of like, you brought me into your world real quick just now, and I'm like, I wonder what it would be like to like have those, I guess, handcuffs, but like being on radio I don't want it to sound like, oh my God, like jail, you know, but like having those constraints.
Yeah, I mean, everything is give and take, right? Like, hey, it's a blessing to be on the radio. Like stations that I grew up listening to, that's wild to be able to say that.
C100, come on.
Like that's absolutely crazy. It still blows my mind that I still get to like do that and be a part of that, right? So that's amazing. And I think it's just like different practices. You also have to understand when you do radio, the brand is bigger than you, right? So like, you know, that Z100, that KTU, these are legendary brands that like, you know, are far bigger than me, Dramos, you know, so I have to be kind of operating within their space and I have to respect their space at the end of the day, right? And the podcast, that's all me, so I get to like, you know, own that space. So it's kind of just different practices.
Modulation.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a great, this is very interesting to me. I hope it's for all of the LOLeros as well. Yeah. I didn't even think of that until you brought it up. Here you are operating under a brand. But doesn't it feel so good to have your own brand?
Oh, hell yeah.
Right?
I mean, that's the dream, yeah.
It's just like, I can't, sometimes I'm going to confess.
Yeah.
I worked for a media brand or media brands for a long time. I briefly mentioned I had this marketing career. So I was at brands like People in Espanol magazine and Heineken and Latina magazine, and I loved operating under the guise of these brands that I was also passionate about. Yeah. That I was a subscriber of myself even before I was working there. Hello, Heineken, of course.
Right.
Don't touch my Heine. You know? So, and there are so many brands under the umbrella. Anyway, all that fascination aside, I was still working for them.
Yeah.
And now it's like Latinos Out Loud is a media brand. I still can't, I'm so thankful.
It's amazing.
And I'm so thankful for all that experience. You alluded to it before, my tongue is gonna work at some point this morning. Dramos alluded to it before when he was like, yeah, like, you know, there's that passion also that we have for what we're doing for ourselves, and at the same time you're doing stuff for the community as well.
Yeah.
With your motivational speaking, turn podcast.
Yeah.
So yeah, shout out to you for doing all of that. I mean, you call it code switching, but it's really just like rolling with punches and modulating from job to job,
Right.
role to role.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think it's also important because it's like, I want to say I'm the first Puerto Rican ever on air at Z100. I genuinely think that is a thing. So
Qué
like,
bonita bandera.
exactly. I mean, even though I'm not playing as much like Bad Bunny and Mark Anthony as I want it to be, you know, I think it's still important because it's like, it's representation. It's somebody listening, somebody watching that, and they could see that it's possible. You know, like I think when I got into radio, I felt like I had to change my voice a little bit, and now, while I still kind of respect the brand, I also get to do it as myself as well, which I think hopefully, you know, opens the doors for others, or at least maybe inspires other people.
Well, maybe we could talk about that a little bit. You touched on it, like as a Latino maneuvering a space. I've been to the iHeart corporate offices.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, a couple times, and like, you know, I thought there was diversity, like in the sales force and all
Sales,
that.
yep.
Like, what's it like as a Latino maneuvering that space when it comes to on-air talent? Like, I don't know how many Latinos, A, E, X, Y, Z, however one chooses to identify these days. Like, what's that like, maneuvering the space as a Latino, as a Rican?
There's more now than there was, but there's not enough. I mean, obviously, first of all, the legend that is Angie Martinez like graces the halls. So you know that is
the queen of radio.
Exactly.
The queen of New York. Wait, what is it? She has a title.
I should know this.
I know, right? We should know this. I think it's the queen of
The Queen of New York?
Is it the Queen of New York?
I mean, she's the Queen of New York.
Yeah, she's a queen.
Why not?
Angie, we really want you on this show.
Ooh.
Shout out to Angie. Like,
Putting
we
it out
really, I've been putting the ask out for a while.
Okay, well, maybe
It'll happen.
Yeah.
I'm not done asking. I'm not done.
We can throw it out there.
Yeah.
It'll happen. Put it in the universe.
Yo sigo.
Yeah, but I mean, I think aside from her, she was the only one I could think of for, like when I first got in there.
Right.
And now, you know, we have shout out to my guy Josh Martinez, who's on Z100. He's full time over there. And you know, KTU has kind of had some decent diversity as well, I think, over the years. But there was few and far in between as far as on-air talent goes of like Latinos, you know. And it's also like this idea of like, if you are a person of color, you kind of automatically have to go to the hip hop station, you know.
Yeah.
And that's your only kind of place to fit in. So like the idea of otherness still existed for me when I was starting my career in radio as well.
I would like to take it back to that, if we can dial back.
Yeah.
No pun intended, or maybe the pun was intended. Dial radio, see what I'm doing here? How did you get your start in radio? I mean, did you go to school for radio, or like what was it that tickled you? What was the bug?
Nah, I've always loved radio. But no, I didn't go to school for it. I was just DJing, being in the clubs, being in the bars. I happened to meet somebody who worked at KTU. And we just became friends, and like over the span of years, of like just a couple years of being friends, he was telling me one time like how somebody fell asleep at the boards overnight, and they had like 7 minutes of dead air or whatever.
Oh, my.
Yeah, so 7 minutes is like an eternity when it comes to radio. So like that was a big deal over there. They were gonna have to fire him, and they like needed somebody they could trust, and I kind of just like threw my name in the hat. And at first he was trying to convince me not to do it. He was like, the pay sucks, you're making more money now doing what you're doing, like the hours suck, why would you want to be there? But I just kind of had like the long-term vision. I was like, I think this is going to open doors to like the bigger things that I want to do in this life. So I convinced him, and like for close to a year he would sneak me in on Sunday mornings and teach me how to run the board.
Dope.
Yeah, and then from there, at that point, it was like when they were ready to make the switch, he like went to the bosses like, this kid already knows how to run the boards, you should just give him the job. Like, you can rely on him, and that's kind of what started it. So my first shifts were at KTU from midnight to 6 a.m.
Wow.
Yeah.
Midnight shift.
Yeah, by myself, just running the boards, like just in a building by myself, basically.
I love that homeboy passed the baton.
Yes.
we have to do that
Mm-hmm.
always. It's
Yeah.
so easy, right? All he did was, yo, come shadow me, learn this.
Yeah.
And now look at you.
Yeah, no, I mean, and I was like, I think the beauty of it is like now whatever I create, my legacy, he's also a part of it, right? Like I'm a part of his legacy as well. I think that's a beautiful thing. And like, that's what I would hope to leave behind as well, is like just this whole trail of people whose lives I was able to kind of touch in some way.
So you touched lives also being on the Breakfast Club for a long time. And I watched this video on YouTube,
Yeah.
which was so well done, down to your smoothie making.
Thank you.
I actually got recipe tips while I was watching this video. I'm
Yeah,
like, oh,
give me a little bit
frozen
of everything.
strawberries.
Yeah.
That's really smart. I wouldn't use almond milk, though. I'm allergic to almond. I'm allergic to nuts, but I would do oat milk.
Okay.
Is
fair
that
enough.
a good substitute?
Yeah, oat milk gives you a little extra flavor too.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
yes. I love leche de avena.
Yeah.
It's just so good, tasty. We're not going to go down this path of non-dairy smoothie options here, but we are going to talk about this video where Dramos talks about why he quit the Breakfast Club. Maybe you can summarize what your role was on the Breakfast Club.
Yeah.
The way you phrased it in the video was like, I mean, I felt you on everything you said. I would love for you to put it in your own terms, why you quit the Breakfast Club.
Yeah.
And maybe like, let's tease people to watch that video too, because you really go into detail, but if you can give us top line, why you left.
Yeah, well, my role was, most people, I was just the dude that sat next to DJ Envy. That was what most people thought my job was, just to sit there next to him. But I was the like technical producer, so I was running the board for the live show. So like I was controlling everything that was going on over the airs. And then like, you know, towards the end, I was kind of hopping on the mic a little bit more as well with them. And, you know, I think for me, the Breakfast Club, first of all, was like a dream come true. I manifested that. I had like, even when I was at K2U, I told myself I'm gonna have a relationship in some sort of way with Charlamagne and Envy. Like I looked up to them. And then that just happened to kind of pop up, that opportunity came up. And then, you know, the intention was never to be there forever. It was like, this is gonna be the greatest form of schooling you could ever have. You're gonna sit next to these legends day in and day out. You're gonna take notes, you're gonna figure out what you can from it, and then you move on to your next thing. So like, my initial goal was to be there for only a year. That turned into 4 years, as things typically kind of happen. But, you know, kind of long story short, for me, it was like, it's like being an athlete. You're like a backup quarterback. Eventually, you want to get out on the field. You know what I mean? So for me, it was like the time had come where I felt like I learned everything I possibly could from it. The only thing that was keeping me there at that point was like my ego of just liking the fact that I was associated with that show. But like beyond that, I knew that I had more to offer, and the only way to figure that out was to just kind of go off and do my own thing.
That's very courageous.
Thank you. Yeah, it's tough. It was tough. A lot of people switch up on you. A lot of opportunities that were once there go away. You know, and you have to kind of navigate this whole new life after something like that.
It seems like from that video too that this was not an overnight thing. That
Nah.
This was a build.
Yeah.
Tell me about that like internal balance that you had of like staying somewhere comfortable, because this is relatable AF. Staying somewhere comfortable, or is the shift more about doing Dramos' own thing and sacrificing all that gold on the balance on the other side of the beam?
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, it's tough because, like, you know, in this industry, there's not many consistent, like, checks, right? Like, it's hard to really get a stable life if you're a creative. Things are kind of always up and down. They're coming and going.
Yeah.
And with that, I had health insurance. I had a full-time job, right? Like, and if there was one job that was guaranteed, I was on like the biggest, you know, one of the biggest radio shows in the country. So like, and I had an essential job, right? Through the pandemic, like people were losing their jobs. I was still there, able to keep a job and make my money doing that, you know? So that was tough, where it was like, how are you gonna leave this really stable thing in an industry that is so all over the place, particularly coming out of the pandemic and things like that, you know? But you know, I think for me, it just wasn't fulfilling anymore, right? It felt like a job. I was sitting there like unhappy. I was sitting there counting down the time till I got to go home. And like that's just not a way I want to live, but also it's just like such a deviation from how it initially started, right? Here I am sitting next to my heroes and I can't wait to go home. Like that is like, this is not the place for you anymore. You've outgrown it, you know? So like, as much as it's scary, as much as I could fall on my face and there's gonna be you know, an endless amount of people saying I told you so, like internally I knew it was time to move on, you know, and honestly I struggled with that for like the better part of a year before I actually like finally put in the work and the effort to like make a real plan of action to get myself out.
Kudos to you, Dramos, and thanks for sharing your thought process a little bit on that, because I think it's relatable. There's so many instances, marriages, jobs, friendships, you know, you feel comfortable and like you have the internal scale going crazy. It's like, wah, 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 wah. And you're like, wait, no, I don't know, you know. God, I sound like the Simon game that I just bought my kids, which I've been obsessed with for the past few days. Like old school Simon, I'm mad old school. I bought Jenga, I bought Simon, Yahtzee.
Do the kids respond to
they
it?
did. I mean, when I can get them off the tablets, they respond. But that, I think, is a relatable story because we have to listen to ourselves. I am so guilty myself of not listening to myself. Like, this happens probably on the daily. Por ejemplo, I made chocolate chip cookies for Santa. I didn't listen to myself. Why am I wearing a sweatshirt today? Because I put on mad pounds over the holidays. And yes, and like, I didn't listen to myself. I told myself, don't eat more than like 2 or 3 cookies, because you know they're gonna go straight to the midsection. And where'd it go? To the midsection. But you know, I say that jokingly. I loved the cookies. I'm gonna work out next week. I'm gonna go double time, I promise. I gave myself that grace. But there's so many times, like in my career, I didn't listen to myself. And I would report to the office, to my keyboard, listen to voicemails while I sip my coffee. Hi, Rachel. Yeah, this is overdue. I was wondering if you could stay late tonight and finish it. You know? And it was day in and day out, that monotonous, you know what I'm saying?
That's the worst, Well, I mean, I think for me, what I also like had to remind myself was like, if I go out on my own, I go to do my own thing, I fail, I'm still the same person that got to that point at the Breakfast Club. Like, maybe I'm not going to get that same position, but I could build myself back up and get another gig of equal, you know, opportunity, right? And I think that's where a lot of people like are missing out on, right? Like, say you have this great job, you worked your ass off to like work your way up the corporate ladder, whatever it might be. Like, you go off on your own, you fail, you're still the same person that got their way up the corporate ladder. Why wouldn't you be able to recreate that same sort of success? Maybe, again, not the same company, but you know, in some sort of way. Like, I think we make it seem like, you know, we're gonna go out on our own, we take a risk, and our life is fucking over if we don't like find success with it. And it's like, nah, you're the same person who built it before. You can do it again. I
love that. Aaliyah, dust yourself off and try again.
And there's the hip hop quote for the
It's
episode.
always gonna be hip hop, R&B, reggae, maybe merengue quotes. I don't know. Okay, talking about music. So, wait, no. I have another Breakfast Club question. No. Before we get to your illustrious DJ career. Can you share with us like one or two of your favorite moments from working on the Breakfast Club?
1 or 2 of my favorite moments, man. I think, well, I would say like guest-wise, probably Will Smith or 50 Cent. And it's because I've never seen like when, you know, people talk about, oh, they have a presence, like they're a star, you feel it. These two, like, genuinely, with like Will Smith, when he walks in the room, it's just everything changes. Like, the energy in the room changes. And also watching as he navigates the room, like his charisma, greeting every single person from, you know, the hosts to the interns, like,
sweet.
And that, you feel like that just changes the energy. Everybody in the room is happy at that point. You know, like, everybody feels good to be there.
Was this pre-slap or post-slap?
This was pre-slap Will Smith. So this is like golden boy Will Smith.
Wow. Crazy how things have changed.
I know. But
did you ever think?
Did you ever think he'd slap the show, Chris Rock on the ass with you? No, I did not.
Same guy was shaking hands with the intern. Slap the hell out of Chris Rock. I would never think that. That's amazing.
That wouldn't have been on my bingo card, no.
But wow.
But yeah, but like that, so that was like really interesting. And then 50 Cent also, like, how he's intentionally navigating the room as he's talking. He's making eye contact with everybody in the room. Even if you're off camera, he's making eye contact with, he's bringing you into the conversation, right? And I just think, for me now, being a host and being somebody who, like, you know, has production behind me at times, like, I want to make sure I make everybody feel that comfortable. I want to make sure I feel everybody, you know, makes themselves feel seen and happy to be in that space, you know, and create a fun environment in that way. And then I think, not one other memory, but like just seeing the grind of Angela Yee, of Envy and Charlemagne, like you know, all the projects they're working on, seeing how they show up every single day, it was just inspiring. Like that changed, you know, the course of my life for sure, of like what I thought was possible of you know, creating things within this industry, and just like the work ethic, right? And that like has forever left an imprint on me. Like that, I'm a part of their legacy for sure. Just the way they've taught me just by proxy of being themselves.
I also have a lot of respect for the Breakfast Club and those hosts and their grind. And her podcast, Lip Service, and everything she does in the industry.
Right. Also them being unapologetically black as fuck. Like that's what I love. By the way, that's like their thing, is like we're unapologetically black. And that opened the door for me to be like, oh, I don't have to change who I am to find the success I'm searching for. Like the skill and talent is going to bring everybody else to me, right? And that is like the beauty of, even though they're an unapologetically black show, they have an audience that's very diverse. But they still get to like represent their community while speaking to everybody, right? And they can be strong in their voice and advocate for what they believe in and still have that success. And like I used to love watching them have behind the scenes conversations with like salespeople trying to pitch them on something and be like, nope, that is not in line. I'm not dancing for nobody.
Off brand for us.
Yeah, like we're not tap dancing for anybody. Like
that's
this is
so
who we
authentic.
are. Yeah, and so that like also changed the way that I just went in the industry, and it helped me find my voice. So like that's just like forever life changing.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about your illustrious DJ chick 1 and 2s. I don't really do good sound effects when it comes to the DJ.
Was pretty good.
I can do an air horn, brr, 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 you know that,
Quality.
you know, but the record scratch, no, I'm not too good at that.
It's not, you got other skill sets, it's okay.
I love like when I meet these multifaceted entertainers with Latinos Out Loud.
Yeah.
Because you do so much, but in an organized way.
Sure.
So you're still in the clubs.
Yeah, not as much as I used to be, but I still am. There's like a spiritual side to DJing, not to make it deeper than it is.
No, let's go deep. Like, talk to us about that. Let's go.
I think when you like find something that you get into like a flow state, right? Because like my hands do stuff without me thinking about it when I'm DJing. You know, and like my mind goes to things. I'm picking records. So like I'm watching the crowd. I'm just instinctively playing stuff that I think is gonna work, and we're connecting energy-wise. So like that's where I am now as a DJ, where it's like, it's a blessing. I don't have to be in the club 4 or 5 times a week anymore. You know, it's not my main source of income. Yeah, no, that's like, you know, going crazy, and like my health was not the greatest during those time periods.
Oh my God.
Now it's nice to be able to just like do it because I love it, and obviously, you know, I'm still getting paid to do it, but it's not my main focus anymore, so I can be really picky about it and just kind of like embrace the art form it is.
Did you start DJing with vinyl, or like where did you start? Were you on CDJs?
Yeah, so I'm of the digital generation, so I know a lot of people are gonna hate me for that, but
I don't know, but I mean, listen, you could still be a very skilled Serato DJ.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
It's different. It's different generations. You know what I'm saying? I think I'd be a fool to not embrace technology, right? I don't think anybody wants to break their back carrying crates around anymore. So the fact that I can carry a backpack and be good to go, I think is more cost effective for me as well. But yeah, I started out with CDJs with Serato, and you know, I have a great deal of respect for like all the old school stuff as well, and I would love to actually do, like, I know there's like a lot of vinyl bars popping up around the city. I would love to like DJ some of those for fun.
Yo, vinyl is like, I mean, at first it was like the millennials, right? And like the gentrifiers. Like, you know, when they sell like the equipment at Urban Outfitters?
Oh my God, yeah.
It's like, wait, they're selling record players at Urban Outfitters? Okay, I see where this is going. There's this renaissance that is being led by the target audience of Urban Outfitters.
Right.
And so, but now it's like there are these vinyl parties and like vinyl collectors, and it's kind of dope. I actually love to see it.
No,
I grew up in the vinyl era. I grew up with like, you know, mom, dad, turn on the old Victrola. You know, not that we had a Victrola, not that old. But no, it wasn't whatever.
Cranking up the old record player.
Rachel, go crank up the record player, will ya? All right, Dad. All right, no, they didn't make me do that. They made me do everything else.
Sure, not that, okay.
No. Oh yeah, I was the younger sister where like the older brother was like, Rachel, I'm like, what? Come here. I'd come here. He's like, get the remote for me. I'm like, why'd you do that? Why'd you make me come all the way? But the vinyl, that like authentic, that crispy.
No, there's something about it. I
Something
start
about
my mornings with vinyl. Like
Me too.
Yeah, every morning while I'm like making breakfast or I'm like feeding my dog and stuff, I throw on a different record. Just something about
Like what?
that.
Give us an artist that you're spinning on vinyl
Oh
while
my
you're
God,
feeding the dog.
I have like some old school like like Fania Records stuff. So like I love like Ray Barreto is a favorite of mine.
Ray Barreto.
Yeah, of course Willie Colon,
Willie
Hector Lavoe.
Hector Lavoe.
Yeah. So I have like
I'm just being your echo here.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Okay.
Yeah, but
I love it. I'm so silly here.
Yeah.
You know that though, because we've already.
Yeah. No.
You're familiar.
I'm very familiar. I'm all about it.
I love hearing about the different facets of your career, and also DJing is an art form that I thoroughly respect.
Thank you.
I think just being in New York City too, and being one of the club girls back in the day, you know what I'm saying? Follow me, yeah. I'm lucky I made it out of that era alive, yo. I am lucky. Shout out to all my girls that I used to party with back in the day. Shout out to Amanda and Joanna and Laura and Amy and the clique. That was like the Key Food clique.
What's the Key Food clique up to these days?
Okay, so the Key Food clique, everybody's moms now.
Oh,
like
shit.
we're all moms and like whatever, doing our thing.
Wait,
But
are we talking about like the golden era though? Like what, like Tunnel and like?
Yes, son.
Okay.
Yes, Dramos. We talking Palladium, Tunnel, Roxy, Expo, all them Cafe con Leche pop-ups, wherever they did it. Limelight, but not really. That wasn't my thing. It was kind of sacrilege.
Sure.
Because it was a church.
Right.
Bar 85. Like some of those Midtown spots after work.
Yeah.
What was those Midtown like Latin spots?
Is it Latin Quarters?
Iguanas.
Yeah.
Latin Quarters.
See, I feel like I missed like the golden era of going out like that. Like I feel like you had the last generation of like really going out.
I'm honored. I'm privileged.
Yeah.
True talk. Like I used to go to clubs and we used to dance.
Yeah. Wild. It was wild.
Can you fathom it? Can you even wrap your head around going to a venue and dancing?
Yeah.
That was me and my girls, and we were the Key Food clique because we all worked at Key Food Supermarket in Brooklyn, and we would bring our slutty tutti outfits, right? And we would like lie to our parents, DK, we were sleeping over at Amanda's crib. Meanwhile, we would like work our shift at Key Food, then go downstairs to the meat locker, change into our slutty outfits, get on the Q train, go to the Palladium, and party till 4 a.m. And honestly, like I'm really happy that we're all alive, knock on wood, because there were like rides given by strangers. It was just that era. It was like, yeah, man. It wasn't like Woodstock, but it was just like very free spirited.
Yeah.
Like, we trust everybody. We're just underage clubbers with fake IDs that just came off of our shift at Key Food Supermarket.
But even like I love that visual. But I love that it's literally a bunch of girls who work at Key Food are the Key Food clique. That's amazing. But also I think like musically, the DJ was a curator, right? And it was like you were trying to hear shit that you hadn't heard before. Where now people want to hear the same thing over and over again.
Whack.
Yeah, so you're like, people try to make it more of a jukebox these days and you don't have as much room to curate, and that's sort of what I feel like I missed out on a little bit.
Oh,
Yeah.
the DJ is the head of the orchestra.
Right.
I also, like, I don't know if you're familiar with the Latin Mix Awards. Like, shout out to the Latin Mix Awards. Shout out to Pills for recognizing the Latino DJs. That's where I really, like, learned the, like, intricate, like, there's labor here, there's planning, there's curating, there's going through your sets before you show up to the club, reading the audience, seeing what's trending, downloading right away. Like somebody requests something, yeah, I'll get that for you, boop, 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 boop. Downloading it right away just to satisfy this audience that's like yearning, like, feed me the beats. Feed us the beats, feed us.
No, it's true. There's a selflessness that you have to have, I think, to a degree with DJ. It's a balance, because you don't want to go too far off the rails where you're depressed about what you're playing. But like, but at the same time, like, you want people to have fun. That's what you're there for, is to like curate a really fun environment for people. So you got to like play to them. You're like, what do they want to hear? What are they responding to? And it might not necessarily be like the thing I really want to hear right now, but I want people to have fun. That's what I'm there for.
I never really thought of it that way either, because you have your own preferences.
Yeah.
You know what's hot right now,
Yeah.
but no, that's not what the audience is like fiending for right now.
Right.
They need a little bit of this real quick, a
Yeah.
little bit of that.
Yeah, it's like a puzzle. You got to figure out where the pieces go sometimes. Like, because you could be playing, you could think, all right, I'm gonna play like whatever the biggest record is, it doesn't go off, and then you gotta like boom, start over. You know, you gotta like figure out what is the button I have to push to get these people like into this and dancing.
Yeah. Okay, well, I always ask this question of my guests, especially those that have such illustrious, I'll use the word again, careers
Thank you.
and such really incredible paths to success. So, if you can give words of advice to a younger Dramos coming into the game after maneuvering and doing what you've done and seeing what you've seen and making courageous and bold moves.
Yeah.
What are some words of advice that you would have for him? Because let me just caveat this by saying he is listening, watching, listening. Hi, Dramosito. ¿Cómo tú estás, mijo? He's listening.
I think, I would say a couple of things. I think, first of all, it's going to take longer than you think it's going to take.
Oh, good.
So that's been my lesson, and I would remind myself of that if I was younger. Like, it's going to be longer than you think it's going to take, but it's going to be worth it. Just kind of keep pushing forward. And I would embrace my authenticity a lot sooner if I kind of knew what I knew now. You know, like stop trying to fit into other people's boxes. Stop trying to do what you think is going to get you where you want to be. Stop trying to like do what's popular and stay. You know, figure out what makes you you. Carve out your lane, and eventually people are going to kind of come to that. You know, and that's your secret sauce is your authenticity. So that would kind of be the big one, I think.
I love that.
Yeah.
That is your secret sauce. Oh, snaps to that. I feel like I'm cheating here because this is the content that he puts out on his podcast, or if you go to his Instagram page, there's videos of these like amazing phrases and inspiring quotes, and you're giving me that right now.
I'm trying.
Real time, live. You know,
Yeah.
thank you for the gifts.
Of course.
And for like all these just motivating sort of stories.
Yeah.
Okay, can you tell everyone where to follow you if they're not following you already, and like plug your shows?
Yes.
Plural?
My shows. Yeah, so Life is a Gringo, you can catch the first 2 seasons anywhere you find podcasts. Street Stoic, same thing. We are in the middle of season 2. You can find that anywhere you find podcasts. At DJ Dramos on all social media. You will find me, and yeah, I think that's it. That's the easiest way to connect with me, and I always try to answer DMs and all that stuff and respond to comments, so feel free to hit me if you have any questions or anything like that.
Thank you so much for coming on Latinos Out Loud. Shout out to Brenda, who also helped facilitate everything.
Yes, shout out to Brenda, my partner.
Yeah, yo, she's great, very organized.
Yes,
I
thank God.
appreciate that.
Thank God, that's life-changing to have somebody who's organized.
Salute,
Yes.
yes. Well, you guys, this has been another episode of Latinos Out Loud. Make sure to follow Dramos and all his success. There's so much more to come. I'm really excited to tune into this show, Your Life.
Thank you.
Yes, and of course, please follow us at We Are Latinos Out Loud. You could follow me at Rachel La Loca. That's RACHEL La Loca. And also, you can give us a call. 978 Latinos is the number. 978 Latinos. Dial it. No big whoop. Let's have a talk. Give us a topic, send us some guest suggestions, whatever it is, whatever is on your mind, just we're here for you. 978 Latinos. I want to shout out our sponsor. Shout out to Tragos the Game, available at all Targets and Target.com. Listen, if you're having get-togethers for New Year's, I really recommend this game. It's kind of like that headband game meets like Pictionary meets Taboo. It's like a whole smorgasbord, a whole sancocho of that, but it's such a fun game. We have to like guess the word in English or Spanish, and it's so about our cultura. It really just makes you laugh, even before you like give out the guesses for the word. It's such a fun game to play. So check out Tragos Get Loud and the original Tragos game, available at all Targets and Target.com. And also shout out to all the LOLeros. Happy holidays. I have to give a big shout out to Mike and Don from this network. I am rocking the sweatshirt today. As you can see, there was an amazing holiday party last week that they threw for us. Shout out to Duce, sponsor, Ethica. It was flowing. Shout out to Wajitza. You know, Washington Heights Pizza. I mean, what a name, right? We love acronyms and like also like, you know, word mishmashes here.
That's a proper terminology, mishmashes, yeah.
And so shout out to everybody who was there, all the talent of this network. Are you ever in a space where you can feel the power? Like, it's like being on the beach and you feel the sun's rays like illuminating and hitting your skin. It's like I'm glad I wore some SPF. I'm glad it's above 30. Like, I felt the illuminating rays of talent and power and influence in that room. It was such a vibe. As soon as you came out the elevator, it was in a beautiful loft space, and it was just fun. I mean, don't put a photo booth at an event like that. You already know, right, John? Like, shout out to John, shout out to Rick, shout out to all the talent that was there. The list, we'd be here forever, but it was everybody on this talent management's roster, and all the podcast hosts. So thank you so much, Dramos, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you, Carlos and John, for being here on a holiday week. All right? Keep those menorahs lit, baby. All right, until next time, on that note, we out.
It's the Latinos Out Loud podcast. Latinos.